Let's begin.
Hey there, scary story fanatics. Welcome back to Cleaving Thought from Bone with your host, Sociopathic. Just when you thought it was time to retire your tights, the super duo is at it again, painting the streets red with justice. So ditch those glasses and take on a different persona. It's time for Doughboy420's Not All Heroes Wear Capes, Book 2, Chapter 2. Be careful what you wish for.
There was a new threat in town, an affluent pretty boy that had the ability to match his rich kid persona. We called him the Gold Digger, a Goldilocks punk that had the gift of a literal Midas touch. Anything living that he placed his gilted hand upon turned to gold. Over a dozen people fell victim to his guilting hand, and now lay dead and buried, their skin removed to prevent grave robbing, which was now the least of the problems in the city.
What is it with us in arms?
Eidelon asked, referring to the man's golden arm and severed arm, and the handyman, and my own darkened hand. It's a good question, I said with a sigh and a chuckle.
Can we get the new double bacon burger kids meal from Benny's Burger Barrel?
My daughter rushed into the room, yelling quite the tongue twister. What? I asked her, not knowing exactly what she said due to her blurting it out so quickly.
Can we get the new double bacon burger kids meal from Benny's Burger Barrel?
She repeated herself, breaking it down for me.
I want the new reverse race car toy in it, and I'm hungry,
she added. Reverse race car? You mean race car? I asked her. She simply gave me an annoyed look, not at all amused at my lame dad joke of the fact that race car spelled backwards is race car.
It's my favorite cartoon, you know that,
she scolded me. I know. Okay, honey, I guess we can do that, but only if you do your homework while I'm out, okay? I bargained with her.
Okay,
she said in a huff. Could you please watch her for just a little bit? I asked Eidelon.
Sure, no problem. Come on, let's go help you with your homework,
she said, turning to my daughter with a smile. I grabbed my keys and my other glove, and out the door I went. I drove the couple of blocks down to Benny's Burger Barrel, the round corner building with aged wood sides to mimic a shape and look of a barrel. The sign was a kind of cartoon caricature of Benny's chubby self, dressed as a chef, bursting out of a rolling barrel, holding a spatula in one hand and a bottle of mustard in the other. I went inside and up to the counter to order my daughter's meal, where I got a triple stacker for myself and a vegan burger for Eidelon. After ordering, I heard a guy yelling at the employees. It wasn't Benny himself, but it was one of the managers at the place. Some young guy that let the little power he had go to his head. He was just being a jerk because he could, complaining about every little thing to two employees before storming off to the bathroom. I heard one of them say something a little louder than she probably should have for a work environment. "I wish you would eat shit, asshole," she grumbled as she continued to flip burgers. Just moments later, we heard the sound of loud gagging and pounding on the door of the bathroom before the young guy stumbled out of the lavatory. He gripped his neck and fell over, coughing, choking on something lodged in his throat. His eyes were turning bloodshot and bulging out of his head as his skin turned blue. Finally, he fell over, banging his head off the metal railing that separated the lines from the registers, and falling dead on the floor, dislodging some blockage from his throat, and onto the floor it went, which caused quite a bit of more disgust and gagging. The angered employee got exactly what she wished for. The young guy dropped my bagged food onto the counter while apologizing and reaching for his cell phone to call 911. The police came and talked to all of us. An officer in his 30s interviewed me. He was a nice guy, Officer Kraft. He was an honest guy that was really just trying to make a change in the world, and working in this city didn't make that aspiration any easier. While I was being interviewed, and before the police even arrived, I was looking around at everyone else to see if anyone fled or looked off. But everyone there looked fine. Freaked out and disgusted, but fine. No one looked suspicious or out of place. While Officer Kraft was speaking with me, I decided to take a risk on my hypothesis. I don't think he would do that himself. Do you? I wish I knew who could make him do something like that, I said, still looking around. It was at this moment that some hot grease flung out of the kitchen and landed on the area where my neck meets my shoulder, burning me pretty badly.
"Oh my god, I'm so sorry,"
yelled a young, oily-skinned fry cook from the back.
"I was just moving some things and I didn't mean to. Oh my god, I'm so sorry,"
the young guy said. It's all right. Don't worry about it, I said. Officer Kraft returned to his work, but the young fry cook gave me a glaring look. A look that would have destroyed me if looks could kill. He hated me. His look was hateful and full of malice. He then gave a half smile and turned back to walk into the kitchen. My hypothesis paid off, and luckily, it didn't kill me. But it did hurt like hell. After everything came down and the police and paramedics left, I walked around the back of the building and waited for the fry cook to come around back. I was sure that he would pay me a visit away from prying eyes of others.
"That was a pretty smart, or stupid, thing to do,"
the fry cook said as he came out of the door beside me. "You killed your boss." I told him the obvious, as if he had forgotten.
"She wished it. Others' wishes are my command,"
he informed me. So, if I was to wish for something, you would grant the wish? I asked him.
"Yes, you wouldn't want me to grant your wishes, though,"
he said. Why not? I asked.
"They're always bad,"
he answered, brushing the hair away from his eyes. What if people wish for bad things? I questioned further.
"Then they get what they wish for,"
he answered, before pausing for a moment.
"Like, for example, someone wished for me to kill you,"
he finished, his eyes glinting with a bit of an azure color. Then I felt the cold metal of the fire escape wrapping around my wrists, holding me back against the brick wall of the building that they were connected to. I looked up to see that the ladder had split to wrap its ends and rungs around my arms, holding me tightly and pushing me hard against the wall with such force that it felt as if my arms were going to rip off or I was going to be crushed under the weight of my own body.
"I was told to kill you, to crush you, to rip you to pieces, and to destroy you,"
he told me as I struggled against him to no avail.
"My master's wishes are my command,"
he added, as I watched him look over to a full dumpster and with his will alone, wheeled it over in front of me before pushing it slowly against my chest. I could feel my ribs straining against the force of the metal dumpsters, and it wasn't much long after before I heard and felt them beginning to crack under the pressure. I couldn't breathe at all, and I was sure that I was done for. I wish I managed to get out before my mouth was covered by a flattened piece of metal. I was powerless, and I was sure that I was going to die. Suddenly, a wave-like form rolled out of the shadows of the alley, causing the dumpster to be violently thrown away from me, allowing me to once again draw a breath. This was followed by a massive fist of darkness slamming against his chest, causing the young man to be thrown several yards away from where he once stood.
Are you okay?
Eidelon yelled to me, but I could only reply with mumbles and nods.
I'll take that as a yes.
She said, before whipping up another set of fists out of the darkness, ready to attack the Wishmaker.
I wish for a shield,
the guy said, and suddenly there was a man in front of him, a man that took the extreme force of the attack in place of its target, acting as a human shield. Eidelon screamed as she accidentally let loose on an innocent person. She was in pain, but it was not her that was injured. It was her code of ethics. The man she accidentally attacked was pummeled into oblivion. His bones broke through flesh almost in an instant. His skin turned dark shades of blue and black, and then red, as his skin was punctured by his broken bones, this allowing blood to flow across his body. Eidelon ceased her attack as quickly as she could, but it was too late. The man was beaten to death by her shadow fists. Then, something changed in her. She dropped to her knees and went silent as the twisted genie chuckled at her. She then jerked her head upward and glared at him, her eyes hazed over, and began to emit a purple-colored glow as her shadows began to twist and spin around her, causing a small gust to form in the alley. The guy's laughs then stopped, and he began to look more concerned as her shadows ripped through garbage cans and brick walls. The shadows cut through my metal bonds like a hot knife through butter, freeing me and causing me to drop to the ground.
I wish for an army,
the genie commanded, and it was so. Help! A random male voice called out. Please, I can't control myself, called out a woman from another direction. I turned my head and watched as people were dragged off the street like they were on strings and pulled towards us against their wills, kicking and screaming. Then their kicking became a powerful weapon against us. They punched and clawed and attempted to kill, all while screaming and begging for help. Their attacks were useless, though, as the dozen or more people were pushed back toward the street by a wall of shadow. I could tell that something was very wrong with Eidelon. She was completely focused on vengeance, and that was made further evident when the gist of the spinning shadow grew into a tempest. Swirling darkness filled the alley, and it was as if bolts of lightning began to manifest in the tenebrous storm.
I have had enough playing with you,
the young man spoke.
I wish for you to
He began to wish for her death, but he was interrupted by a blade of darkness slicing clean through his arm. At first, it was as if nothing happened. Then suddenly, his arm dropped from his body, and blood began spraying into the air, covering both he and Eidelon in crimson. He screamed in pain and reached to grip his arm in an attempt to stop the bleeding, but much the same thing happened to his other arm, slicing it off with another delayed geyser of blood. He looked at both of his missing limbs as he began to hyperventilate.
I wish for you to
He tried again, but was cut short, both figuratively and literally, as his legs dropped out from underneath him, being cut off much the same way as his arms, leaving him just a torso and a head, which would also not be the case for much longer.
I wish.
He tried one final time, but the only wish that would be granted was his death wish, when one last blade of solid shadow sliced up the middle, from his groin, out through the crown of his skull. He twitched for a moment as one eye rolled off to the side while the other stared blankly at Eidelon, before his two sides were split in half and fell to the ground. The tempest raged for a few moments longer before it finally slowed and settled, the shadows receding back to where they should be, and Eidelon weeping on her knees. "I'm sorry. If there's anything I can do," I began, but I was stopped when she just simply said,
No.
The people had run off, and we were alone in the alley, left to reflect upon what was done.
Well, it seems like every time you try to clean up someone else's mess, you wind up dirty. Though I hear cold water gets out bloodstains. But if your heart is stained with a violent streak, you're not going to want to miss out on next weekend's story. So until then, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can catch you all again next Saturday.
Social media can be very unpredictable, especially regarding horror content. If this content gets removed, all new content will be simultaneously presented on various websites provided in the description to this video. Make sure to follow me in other digital spaces so that you never miss out on the terror. Also, if you like this video, make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button. It helps the channel a lot. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what's here, consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Writing is a dream of mine, and it's all of you that make that dream come true.